welcome back to Cruising as Crew. My name is Lucy and today we are going to be discussing whether modern megaships are ruining cruising. Because let's be honest, cruising today is nothing like it used to be. But the question is it a bad thing? Before we had cruise ships, we had ocean liners, and the job of these were to take people from one country to another. Not for fun, not for luxury, just for transportation.
The 2-month voyage across the Atlantic got whittled down to about 6 days, and then the other month-long voyage out to Australia dropped to as low as 25 days or so. The ocean liner got bigger, faster, and better. Some were lost, but there weren't anywhere near as many horrific disasters at sea as during the days of sail.
Much like how we think of ferries today, but on a bigger scale. You got on, you endured the journey, and you got off at the other end in your final destination. But then air travel took over and ocean liners weren't needed anymore, because why would you spend a week on a ship crossing the Atlantic Ocean when you can just get on a flight and be there in a few hours? This shift happened in the 1950s and 60s when planes like Boeing 707 made flying accessible to the masses. So ocean liner companies like White Star Line, Cunard and Holland America had to adapt. And that's when cruising as we know it today was born. So instead of using ships for transportation, they were rebranded as floating resorts.
Upon graduation from Escoffier, some of these culinary masters go to London or Rome.
Andre Legault?
Others go to sea and work their magic on Norwegian Cruise Line. No cruise line caters to food the way we do. The pleasure ships of Norwegian Cruise Line. The best vacation you've ever had, to say nothing of the chocolate cake, a la Andre Legault.
And just like that, the cruise industry took off. Now, cruising in the past was a very different experience to what it is now. It was luxurious. It was elegant. It was about fine dining, incredible destinations and wonderful service. There were grand dining rooms, afternoon teas, formal nights and a real sense of sophistication. And fast forward to today, the cruise industry is unrecognisable. I mean, in 2024 alone, we had a whole host of brand new record-breaking cruise ships. And what are these ships known for? Because it's not service, it's not fine dining, it's not even the destinations. It's gimmicks. Does the ship have a go-kart track? How many water slides does it have? Does it have a surf simulator? Oh, sorry, one's not enough. What is the crazy new attraction that makes this ship stand out? Like Ovation of the Seas with the North Star or Celebrity with the magic carpet. Cruise lines are in an arms race to outdo each other with bigger and better features. And it makes sense because we now live in a fast-paced, social media driven world where people expect instant excitement. 100 years ago, the launch of a new ship was a massive event that would have people talking for months, if not years. And today, we scroll past it in 2 seconds because we're actually bombarded with new information constantly. And the cruise lines know this. So they are doing the smart thing and leaning into it by designing their ships to actually be Instagrammable. Yes, that is a term. I mean, look at Virgin Voyages, for example. Every part of that ship is an Instagram-worthy moment. But taking Virgin Voyages out of this and thinking about the mass cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, MSC, these cruise lines aren't necessarily appealing to the adults who are going to be booking and paying for the cruise. They're appealing to the kiddlywinks who are going to beg their parents to go on vacation on the new cruise ship with the newest feature, like a go-kart track. When I was a kid and we used to go on family vacations, we were happy to just be in the sun. And maybe that's because I'm from England and, you know, everyone knows we don't get any sun. So the fact that we had sun, we were already happy. That is all we needed for a good holiday. But today's kids, they're spoilt for choice. And that doesn't, I'm not saying anything bad about the kids. It's just the time in which they're growing up. They probably have social media from a young age or access to the internet or the TV. And they see these advertisements for these mega cruise ships with all of these amazing things to do. VR arcades, zip lines, laser tag. So you can't really blame them for wanting to go on these brand new cruises. So with all that being said, why am I posing the question, are mega ships ruining cruising? Because while cruising has evolved, I personally think some things have definitely been lost. Megaships are designed to keep you on board spending your money. So the focus is no longer on the destinations. The focus is on the ship itself. If you book a mass market cruise line sailing from Miami, the chances are you're going to visit the cruise line's private island and Nassau in the Bahamas. And that's no shade to Nassau. Loved Nassau. Spent a lot of time in Nassau. But let's be honest, it's not exactly a port that people are rushing to get off at. So I think that fine dining and impeccable service has almost taken a back seat to all of the gimmicks that these ships have on offer. I'm not saying the service is bad. I'm not saying the food is bad. I'm just saying that the priority isn't that anymore. And then let's talk about the cost. So again, cruising 100 years ago was only for the wealthy, really. Whereas like most things nowadays, everything has become more accessible to everyone, which is not a bad thing at all. It's wonderful that we can all indulge in these great experiences and these vacations. But something I'm not a huge fan of is how the mass market cruise lines will lure you in with a relatively low starting price. But then once you're on board, you're hit with a load of other costs that you need to pay, such as a drinks package. So even if you want soft drinks, and especially if you want alcoholic drinks, you're going to have to purchase a drinks package. Then at the end of the cruise, you're going to be hit with gratuities if you have not prepaid these, which for a lot of new cruisers is a shock. A lot of people don't know about this until they get to the end of their cruise and realise that they've got to pay an extra $100 to $200 in gratuities, depending on the cruise that you're on. And while there are a lot of free dining options on the cruise, there's the buffet, there's the main dining restaurant, there's also the option to go to some really lovely restaurants. That will be extra. Now, you really can make a cruise as inexpensive or as expensive as you want. You can kind of get away with just paying the base price and the gratuities. But if you are a family and it's your annual vacation, you want to let the reins go a little bit. And cruise lines know that when you're on vacation, your spending habits change. You get that
"when will I ever be here again"
mindset, and you end up spending way more than you initially planned to spend. I know I do. Every time I go on vacation, the purse strings loosen. Honestly, the sun hits my skin and I'm like, spend it all. You're swiping your cruise card left, right and centre. And if you've got kids, I would think that that pressure to spend would be heightened even more. They see other kids trying the cool things and they want to try it. And you as a parent want your child to have a great time on the cruise. So that combined with the
"when will we be here again" mindset.
Just do it, it's fine. We'll think about the cost later. It's all good. And before you know it, you have blown through your budget. And don't even get me started on shore excursions. They're pricey. Cruise lines charge a ridiculous amount for shore excursions, in my opinion. And I know that their reasoning is,
Well, the reason you pay extra to do an excursion with the cruise ship is because if the bus gets stuck in traffic, the cruise ship will wait for you.
I get that, but it's a lot. It's a lot. But it's smart because they know that people's biggest fear when they're on a cruise is getting left behind. So people are willing to pay the extra to not have to worry about being left behind. But here's my opinion. I don't think mega ships are ruining cruising, but they're definitely changing cruising. And that's not necessarily an awful thing because there is still a place for traditional cruising like Cunard, Viking, Silversea. You can go on these cruise ships and still experience a more traditional cruise. Even mass market cruise lines still have smaller cruise ships. So let's say you really like Royal Caribbean, but the thought of going on one of these gimmicky cruise ships is not for you. You can still go on a ship like Rhapsody of the Seas, which is among their smallest now, I think. And you'll have a completely different experience on Rhapsody than you would on Icon. And can we just talk about the ship's name? They've called the new Royal Caribbean ship Legend. They had an old ship called Legend. Like, I worked on the smaller ship called Legend. That's now been sold and that's no longer in the fleet. But I don't know, I was hoping for a snazzier name. It really doesn't matter, but I was a bit underwhelmed with the name, Legend of the Seas. But yeah, let me know what you think of that name, if you were a bit disillusioned by it. Or maybe you don't care, and that's fine too. So there's simply just more choice now. But I do wonder what is going to happen moving forward. Will these smaller, more traditional cruises just disappear? Because I'm sure you've noticed the trend that no cruise line is bringing out smaller cruise ships. Every cruise line is just bringing out bigger and bigger and bigger cruise ships. Because even though Disney Treasure is significantly smaller than Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, Disney Treasure is the biggest ship in the Disney fleet. So they are just getting bigger and bigger, and the smaller ships are disappearing, which is a shame. So is this a move in the right direction or the wrong direction? I don't think it's black or white, but I do think the cruise lines are forced to do this because of what the market demands. Because whether we like it or not, this is where cruising is headed. But as always, I want to know what you think. Is this a good evolution, or do you miss the old style of cruising? Do you love cruising but couldn't think of anything worse than going on a mass cruise line? Or do you only sail on these mass cruise lines, on these massive cruise ships? Please let me know in the comments. I would be very interested to know what you think. But if you have enjoyed this video, please press the like button and consider subscribing. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next video.